this. All right, and we have this recording running, and I'll be posting the recording of this on YouTube afterwards for anyone who couldn't attend, just so they can see a little bit of a video demo on our newly released items, as opposed to just the release email that we send out. But other than that, I think I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. So one pretty exciting change that we made that you'll notice right off the bat when you log into Knowify is this jobs table in your managed contract jobs now doesn't just show the amount that's been invoiced against the contract, it's also showing how much has been paid. So obviously this is good. We're doing some accrual-based accounting. I can see that I've invoiced $18,400 on this project, but if I click this bar, it's going to show out of that much how much has been paid. And so this is just giving you that extra layer of detail right off the bat. I want to be able to jump right into this job and know how much the customer's paid. I don't want to have to go to my invoices. We heard this request a lot, and now it's available. And now I can see exactly how much is still outstanding from my invoices on this job. You can see we also are separating deposits from your billed revenue here. So I can see, technically a deposit isn't revenue on this project. We did request the money from the client, but I want to see how much is billed out, and that's going to be a separate feature. You can also see that we are offering additional info when it comes to GC bid jobs as far as retainage, where I can click that more info button and it'll pull up how much is being retained for completed work, how much for stored materials, shows me my total, I can see my percentages. It's just, again, a nice way that you can get this additional layer of detail without having to go into the contract, see how much you've invoiced so far, run an invoice, anything like that. I can just see, oh, there's some $835 in retainage. What's the breakdown on that? And I can see that way, maybe we have more stored materials on the job than we expected. So these are just some really quick changes we made right off the bat to make everything run a little bit smoother, give you more info on this initial screen. We've also given you the ability to enable and disable the work in progress numbers. We did hear a lot of feedback about, it's nice to have this information. It's great that you're printing in reports, but we don't want it to be shown right in front of us as revenue. You can actually now turn this off. I believe it's a setting in your customized section. And if not, all right, it's very likely something that we'll have to enable and disable for you. But basically, if you just reach out to us at support@knowify.com, we'll turn off the work in progress numbers for you, so your revenue will simply be stated as the actual revenue, and it won't factor in this additional work in progress info. I'm actually going to go back to that screen really quick, because there's another really important change that we made for anyone who's not using QuickBooks and they're using Knowify, and that's this tax rate section. This is an account that was synced with QuickBooks, so it's pulling in locked-in tax rates from QuickBooks. If you're a QBO user, we want to make sure that you're using synced-up tax rates. But if you're not a QuickBooks user, you can now come here and plug in tax rates instead of having to manually write them in per each invoice you create, per each contract. This is just a way that you can have more formal rates set into the system. Also in this piece of the system, under your defaults where you can customize the emails that go out through Knowify, for those of you who didn't know, you can actually manually adjust what every invoice email starts as, e-signature, POs that you send out, service tickets. But we also now set up a place where you can input your terms and conditions. So you can use these same stock terms and conditions across all of your contracts. And I know that we have the ability to save them across your contracts, so you don't have to rewrite them. We'll say like, well, this was your last GC bid. Here's your new GC bid, and we're using those same terms and conditions. What we're doing differently now is what you could say is, here are the terms of this agreement. And when I save this, whenever I create a new contract, there'll be a prompt for use my stock terms and conditions, and it'll pull this in. That way you can make adjustments. You can have, let's say you have a list of 10 different exclusions that you keep in, but you pick and choose per each job. You can actually use this to put in all 10, pull them in onto each job, and you just have to subtract instead of copying and pasting for each contract. I'll show you more about how that works in a moment. We're going to be going through creating a job. But you'll see that we also have a section where we can see all of the tags that we've used on our jobs. To give you more info on what this is, a while back with our last release, we actually created the ability to do custom tags on any of your contract jobs. You click the Show Tags option, and I'll say, this is my webinar tag. It's useful for a lot of things. We can export it onto documents. We'll be able to run reports on it. And you'll be able to say, show me my webinar jobs, and it'll filter out there. But, we limit you to 10 tags, and you may, lose track of what you have available in the system. And so this section that we set up for tags is just somewhere that you can come in and get a quick rundown on what tags have been used. And if you go over the limit, you can just exit out here, and now I'll delete that webinar tag from my system. Just a nice place that you can manage these things, kind of automate the process a little bit more. One last change we made in the admin section that you'll want to be aware of. Now under your rate section, where we plug in all of our employees' pay rates, how much we charge, or how much we cost to the job for each of these people. This is their loaded labor burden. We've always had a place where you can manage roles, and recently we made a change where instead of using the average rate for a role, what used to be set up where we take the average of everyone as a laborer, and that's the estimated rate. We have the ability now for you to put in a manual one. So I could say put in labor at 35, put in foreman at 47, and that's what we use when you're budgeting. But this little button next to here says, give me the average, and that's what we use as your budgeting role. So that way you can get a little bit more information across. Again, you can always make the manual adjustments, whatever you need to do. I don't know why I multiplied those, bear with me. But this is just so when you're creating a estimated budget for a project, you can use whatever rates you want or the average if you prefer. Now, I'm going to show you one of the most major changes that we've actually included in this release, and it's going to be around managing subcontractors in Knowify. And so I'm going to start a new job. I'll call this, webinar project 798. Let's see. I'll use a owner contract. It's going to be fixed price. I'm using professional. I want to plug in a budget. Here's my address. Now, we used to have two options for adding job phases, adding a job phase and a subcontractor phase. The idea being that if it's something that your company is providing, then you will be able to write in the expected amount of labor and material costs for your company, for your people. Then you would have a subcontractor phase for anything that's being furnished by a subcontractor on a lump sum contract, which was a nice way to be able to see the separation between your labor, the sub-labor. But all too often we see situations where these overlap. We are hiring a sub, but we do have our own guys on site as a project manager. We are ordering the materials for the sub. And so what we've done is fuse them into one style of phase now, where when I add a job phase, I could say, this is going to be some painting work. We need to order some paint. Whatever it may be, 50 buckets, let's get some primer in here. I won't bore you too much with this part of it. And I can say the labor is going to be done by a sub. So I'll click Enable Subs, and you see it switches it to a green phase, which is pretty common based off of our old system. Anything with a subcontractor is shown as green, so they're going to be involved in this. And I can say, my subcontractor will probably charge me about $1,200 for this work. And then I can also include my own laborers. So I know that I'm hiring the subs for most of the work, but I also am going to need my foreman on board. And he's going to be working for 40 hours on this. And now I have one phase that has the materials budget that I have to pay, the labor budget for my guys watching over, and the subcontractor budget for the guys I'm hiring. And when this project plan is saved, another major change on how we're going to be working through the system is the plan no longer has to be active in order for you to upload the subcontract. I can come in on this draft plan while I'm still in the budgeting and planning side of this project and say, grab my subcontractor, it's John Smith Painting Co., and we can input that subcontract or work order into the system. So we have this, as part of our budget before we start quoting the prices to the client. And that's that extra layer of detail that you're getting right off the bat. We like you to be able to budget with as factual of information and as much detail as possible. And that's what we're giving you with this ability to add subcontractors to standard job phases. It also just simplifies the process so you don't have to switch between phases when you're adding them. You always just add a job phase, plug in the budget, you're good to go. Now, another thing that is going to be different as a result of that is that you'll see that there's now 3 markup boxes when I'm quoting prices to a client. So let's say, I mark up materials 50%, for my guys 40%, and the subcontractors are 35%. I can get that detailed breakdown of markups and know if I'm still going to calculate and quote the prices for me. And it's just giving me a little bit more freedom on how we work through this project, just to make it all run a little bit more smoothly. I'll quote the price, whatever it may be. And that's just how we're going to be running a little bit more info through our system now. You'll see that we have my terms and conditions still saved in. This is actually my old terms and conditions. We still do the, if you write it in, we'll copy it over. But when I put in those terms and exclusions in the previous screen for my admin section, you see now we have this copy terms and exclusions option where I can click this and it'll update this here. Again, the real benefit of this is, as part of our custom templating, we can actually hard code boilerplate terms and conditions onto your Knowify proposal docs, and then set up a separate box called, exclusions, which will take in whatever you put in here. So if you have 15 different standard exclusions that you pick and choose from on each job, clicking here will drop them in, and you can say, I don't like these ones, I do like these ones, and you can pick and choose what ends up going in here, and we'll automate the whole process for you, make it a much simpler system. I'm going to go ahead and make this active. You guys are all very familiar with our e-signature, so I won't get too deep into that. And now I'm going to show you another neat addition that we just pushed regarding purchase orders. Now, since we gave people a lot of manual budgeting tools for importing Excel sheets, but what they kind of lost from that was the ability to have this material breakdown. A lot of people put in a request to say, all right, well, when I'm ordering materials, can I use an Excel sheet for that too, since Knowify won't let me automatically pull up the list like we do here. So we actually built a tool, which I'm sure you guys will recognize if you're familiar with different parts of the system, where you can copy and paste items from a spreadsheet into your Knowify purchase order. So if you have a Excel sheet, let me go ahead and just pull one up really quick from Google Sheets. It's going to prompt you for description, price, quantity, and item number. I'm going to go say description, price, quantity, item number. So I'll say, here's paint, red, they charge $10 per bucket. I need to order 7 buckets. This is the item number. Here's prime, that's not how you spell primer. Here's primer, it's white. I need to order 5. They cost $6. This is the item number for that. I can just take this Excel sheet. So if you're using another software for your takeoff, and they're going to be saying, they're going to be exporting a list of materials that you need to purchase into an Excel sheet for you, you can just take that Excel sheet, say perfect, copy, and then paste it into Knowify, and we'll automatically fill out a purchase order form for you. It's just a way of playing nicely with other softwares and kind of automating the process so you don't have to go in and manually make all of these adjustments, manually make all these entries. We'll just set it up real quick. It creates all of this info, and it'll generate a purchase order document for you. I won't wait for this PO to load. There it is. You get the idea. It's all just coming right from Excel sheets. Much easier process. And so that's just kind of some of our purchasing updates we've made. Another big improvement we made is in our enter time screen. You'll notice that now when you click time tracker, we don't pull you right to a single person's timesheet. We show you this overview of time, where instead of seeing, I have to see, all right, let me see Amadeus's time, Brian's, what jobs were they on. Knowify just does a quick summary where I can see, all right, here's everyone's entries. Paul's done 8 hours on Monday, 6 hours, 20 minutes on Tuesday. And that's just how I can get a quick view of this. And if I want to say that doesn't seem right, let me click here. It'll pull me into this so I can see a little bit more of a breakdown, and I'll go right to Paul's sheet. So I don't have to manually go to enter time and say, show me Paul. I can just see any discrepancies and jump right to them. Also in our time entry and review time section, we pushed another couple of updates. By popular request, this export to XLS button is back. This was kind of a big one for a lot of our users, since this ends up being one of our most useful timesheets for a lot of you guys. This is the Excel sheet that takes the date, user, job, time, and then comments, and just puts it out into columns, just like you see here. So that's back, by popular demand. And aside from that, we've actually added this actions button where you can do a whole bunch of things, where I could say, reject, adjust, delete. Those were always there before, but I can also do a mass allocate, where instead of having to go into this one and then allocate it to, this job, I can now just choose all of these and say, oops, please don't reject these. I can say, move all of these entries onto this job, and it'll recost them for me. It's just a way to automate the process, make everything go much more smoothly, so I can get a better idea of, so I don't have to manually adjust each item one at a time. Another adjustment we made, since a lot of times we found that people were struggling to apply cost to a job because maybe at some point they had to edit the project plan. Now, if a project plan is amended and it's currently inactive, so it hasn't been switched back to active since you're working on this project again, you can actually track job costs to this. So if I'm going somewhere and I have to add a purchase, let's go with Home Depot, I should be able to use my job type ahead. And let's see, I already forgot the number of this project. 798, I could say, show me 798. And even though this project plan is in draft, I can still point my cost at it. It's just a way to make sure that you don't see any issues where it's like, all right, why can't I find this job? Oh, now I got to switch back to active. I don't want to have to do that every time. Sometimes where, things move fast. We don't always have time to work with that. We automate the process. Now you can switch it now you can cost stuff to it while it's inactive and get all that real-time job costing going. You'll see very few issues with this moving forward. Aside from that, we have made a major improvement to the speed that these numbers update. In the past, we've always seen that, if you enter a labor cost against a job, it takes, maybe 10 minutes to update. The invoice, takes 30 seconds to update. We wanted to put an end to that once and for all. Being that our first purpose in Knowify is to be a job costing platform, we just wanted to make sure that your job costs ran as fast as it possibly could. So let's say I invoice this job. I'll invoice the entire thing here, submit this. Won't send it to QuickBooks since I'm not connected to QuickBooks. I'll record my payment on this, $2,000. I can come right in here and it's automatically showing me that info. And like I showed you earlier, I can see how much was paid. And so this is just a quicker way for us to get this info. I want to know exactly where I stand on this project at this exact point in time. And now Knowify is going to be giving it to you to the best of our possible ability. I think for the most part, those are our most major improvements that we've made. You'll find a couple small speed improvements and just functionality improvements here and there throughout the system. but a lot of these tools were really just made to have an all-around better interface. So when you go through Knowify, it's less of a chore to use. I think that's all I want to cover. Let's see if we have any questions here from the attendees. I got nothing in here. I'll stay on the line for a little bit more if anyone wants to submit anything. Happy to answer them for you. And let me check my list. Maybe I left something out. No, that does seem to be it. Well, awesome. I mean, thank you all for your time, and of course, just for using Knowify day to day. We're always here striving to improve the platform and really make it something that you're happy to use and really get enjoyment out of. Make your lives easier, and your comments help us do that. So, never be shy about reaching out. As I mentioned, a lot of these improvements were based off of suggestions that we got from clients, from pro advisors, and we love to hear that feedback because it can only make us better. So never be shy about reaching out. We're always happy to work with you. And if you have any other questions about the release, don't hesitate to let us know. You can hit the contact us button. You can reach out to us, support@knowify.com, and we're happy to answer some more questions for you. Other than that, thank you again for your time today, and everyone have a nice day. Ooh, I think I got a chat. So I did get a question about tax AIA billing. This is something that we will be looking into for future releases. As of right now, tax on AIA billing is something that needs to be handled on the QuickBooks side. You create the invoice in Knowify, it creates the invoice in QuickBooks, and you have to add the tax there. In our experience, tax and AIA don't really go hand in hand, and so we don't really have any default infrastructure to do that. But if you have any other questions about how that kind of stuff works, we can show you how it works on the QuickBooks side. But again, it's not something that we have available. It's not something that we have available inside Knowify. Here's a question about creating purchases based off of phases. Yeah, so we do strive in Knowify to get you as detailed of job costing as possible. So when you create a purchase, you do allocate it to a phase, not to the job on a whole. If you're ever interested in getting job costing just at the job level and not on the phase, that's what the simple style of job costing is for. It sets it up so when you are costing items to the job, there aren't multiple phases. There's one called labor and materials, and that's where you can see all of your different job costs for the project on a whole. So you don't have to jump around, phase to phase. It simplifies the process. You don't get the same level of detail out of your job cost, but you can really just make everything run a little bit quicker in your system. Anything else? Cool. Yeah, well, thank you guys all again for your time. I'll look forward to hearing back from everyone and hearing some improvements for the future. And as we develop our next release, you guys will be in the loop. Thanks again, and have a nice day.